Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always, told out of Voice of Radio. So today, I need to tell you some wonderful news. It turns out that the Japan Championships 2022 has gone and been won by Regigigas, which is so weird and so cool. Now, there's two ways I've probably described this deck on the thumbnail, title, etc. One is as a budget deck, and believe me, this is a proper budget deck. I mean, the Pokemon, we've got one holo rare and 5 non-holo rares, and they are the Pokemon. That is it. That is literally all the Pokemon we're playing. It's kind of amazing. And also as a surprise deck, although I will say that its status as a surprise deck is a little bit weird. You see, at the Japan Champions League over in Aichi a few weeks ago, this got, I want to say, second place in seniors, and at least one player had a very good run in masters. And nobody really seemed to notice. I am following an absurd amount of Pokemon TCG people on Twitter, and I saw literally nobody talking about Regigigas as a legitimate contender. People were talking about the deck and, asking me if it could be good. And I kind of already knew that it was good. Good enough to win the Japan Championships? That's a bit of a stretch, honestly, but it turns out it totally is. So, as to exactly how much of a secret it is, you can argue, but the fact of the matter is, I didn't see people talking about it before Japan Championships, and I follow a lot of people. And also, can anybody out there really honestly tell me that they expected this deck to win and they weren't surprised when it took down the entire thing? Because even I, who had a lot more faith in the deck than your average person, was testing it a lot more, was thinking it was going to be legit, even I thought it was a bit of a stretch, that it was going to go and win the whole thing. And I was rooting for it the entire time. So it is a Regigigas deck, and it very much is built around Regigigas. Regigigas is your engine, and then essentially we've got a whole bunch of other ways to go off from there. So Regigigas has the ability Ancient Wisdom. If you've got Regirock, Regice, Registeel, Regieleki, and Regidrago in play, and yes, for anyone paying attention, that means all 6 of your available slots on the field must be taken out of exactly those 6 Pokemon. Well, then once during your turn, you can attach up to 3 energy cards from your discard pile to one of your Pokemon. And it is 3 energy cards, not 3 basic energy. Yes, you can accelerate special energy. I should say it was XROWGU over on Twitter who actually went and took down the thing. So this is your engine. The goal is to get all 6 of your Regis out and then use Regigigas' ability every turn to accelerate energy and go and do a win. But then you've got all of the different attacks. So Regigigas has Gigaton Break, 5 energy, 150 damage, but against a VMAX, you do 300 damage, which is, of course, absolutely huge. And time you add a choice bout onto there, then you're talking about 330, and honestly, right, at that stage, you're basically getting a one-hit KO on VMAXs, which, or at least the relevant VMAX that see a lot of play, which is absolutely absurd. But then we've got all the other Regis. So Regieleki lets you discard 2 lightning energy from this Pokemon to deal 120 to one of your opponent's bench. Either you finish off a Pokemon that's retreated to the bench, or you take out a support Pokemon, etc. That sounds pretty good to me. We've got Regirock that for 3 energy does 140, which you might notice is the exact amount of damage you need to do when you take into account weakness to get a one-hit KO on an Arceus V-Star. And sure, they can play Dunsparce, and a lot of them do, but they don't always play Dunsparce, and they can't always get it out on the field fast enough, and you are extremely winner. If you can get all 6 Regis out, you're going to be using Regirock like turn 2 pretty consistently, and if they don't have Dunsparce out, you'll smash it. If they do, you KO it with Regieleki, and then you go smashing. Yeah, this one hits very nice. Oh, it's also got, like so many of them, they've got the attack Regigate for a single colorless energy. Just lets you search for a basic Pokemon and put it on your bench. Turn 1, going second. It's fine if you've really got nothing else. If you're really struggling to find your Regis, this will work, but shall we say it's not ideal. You've then got Registeel that for free energy does 220 minus 50 for each colourless energy in your opponent's Pokemon's retreat cost. And sure, that's kind of annoying, honestly, because it means that you won't always KO everything you need to, but there's a bunch of free retreaters out there, there's a bunch of relevant Pokemon. If anyone's playing around with Whimsicott, then this will be a very good counter to something like Whimsicott, because Whimsicott's got a retreat cost of 1, so you're doing 340. That's easily enough. You will be fine. We've then got your Regidrago. This is your 6th and final Regi, and this has actually got a phenomenal ability, Dragon's Horde. Once during your turn, if it's active, draw until you've got 4 cards in your hand. It's brilliant. It doesn't stat, you can only use 1 per turn, regardless of how many you can get in and out the active, but it's still, it's draw power, and bearing in mind you've got to play all 6 of the Regis, this will work rather nicely, although the high retreat cost is a little bit upsetting. It's also got free energy 160, which is fine. It's your kind of go-to basic boring attack. Hitting the bench, Regieleki. Hitting for fighting weakness, Regirock. Hitting a VMAX, Regigigas. And actually, I never showed you Regis. And Regis, you know, it's another Regi. Regidrago is not the 6th and final Regi. Regis is. Sorry about that. Missed out him for a second. And what you've got is free energy, Blizzard Bind, 100 damage. If the defending Pokemon is a Pokemon V, it can't attack during your opponent's next turn. Bearing in mind, V does include V-Star and V-Max. They are subsections of Pokemon V, which is going to just block a whole bunch of decks out there. And now you're probably beginning to see it. We're hitting a good weakness, multiple of them potentially, and we are blocking Pokemon V, and we're hitting the bench, and we are really good against VMAXs, and quite frankly, it's working phenomenally. We don't play any other Pokemon, we can't play any other Pokemon, we need exactly 1 of each of the 6 Regis in play, so we just play 2 of each. Now, the winning list from Japan this past weekend didn't. But some players are choosing to play the Regieleki that comes around in Evolving Skies because it does 120, discard all lightning, and it also does 40 to 2 of your opponent's bench. It's fine, and with a choice bout, it will get an easy 1-hit KO on a Palkia, as an example. But I will be honest with you, this winning list from Japan didn't play this, and it played a whole bunch of Palkia over the weekend, and it won the whole tournament, and it beat Palkia in the finals. So, I know a lot of players outside of Japan are choosing to put this into their deck. My theory on it is very simply, if somebody just went through and won a 1,600-person tournament, yes, it was that big, including beating multiple Palkia on the way, I don't think at that stage we need to start teching for Palkia. I think our Palkia matchup is fine. Now, in terms of energy, what we're doing here is playing around with a whole bunch of special energy because it doesn't matter, we can use what we like. So, we've got 4 copies of Aurora Energy. Why do we like Aurora Energy so much? It is any energy, and it's perfect. And when you attach it from the discard, you don't have to discard a card from your hand. We've had a ruling, we know that to be true. Head over to the compendium over on Pokegym, and there's a whole bunch on there, and it's really clear. The discard cost on Aurora Energy only applies when attaching the card from your hand. If you attach from somewhere else, you don't have to discard a card from your hand. That is official. That is a real ruling. So when you attach it from the discard using Regigigas, you do not have to discard a card from your hand, which is awesome. We've then got a couple of Speed Lightning Energy. They are the ones that when you attach it to a Lightning Pokemon, you get to draw 2 cards. One of the cool things about this deck is that because you are attaching from the discard with Regigigas, you can afford to just attach Speed Lightning Energy from your hand to Regieleki, even if you're not going to be attacking with it, which is kind of phenomenal. We've then got 4 copies of Capture Energy, and this is because you need all your Regis, and you need your Regis turn 1. You need all 6 Regis straight away, so you want to be attaching Capture Energy from your hand to get it out nice and easily. And then we got a copy of Twin Energy. I'm sure playing more Twin Energy will be fun. Hard to find the room, but it counts as a double energy. It will do nicely. Please do also remember that with Regigigas, you are attaching constantly from the discard pile, which means that you don't need to worry so much about playing multiples or stuff like that, because you can reuse the same one over and over again. And actually, while we're here, I've just had a look at their matchups. They played Palkia 9 times throughout the weekend, 5 times on day 1, 4 times on day 2, and they lost 1 of the 5 games on day 1, and none of the 4 matches on day 2. So no, your Palkia matchup is fine, ladies and gentlemen. You don't need to tech against a matchup where you go 8-1 throughout the weekend against. I think you'll be okay. So yeah, so that's your energy. In terms of your trainers, you've got 4 Professor's Research. The great thing about this deck, one of the amazing things about it is, you are attaching energy from the discard, and you're playing a bunch of basic Pokemon that you're benching right away. So it is very, very rare that you're ever going to discard anything with Professor's Research that you really care about, because it's all just recoverable. We got 3 copies of Marnie, which is a bit of disruption while drawing as well. Both shuffle your hand and put it at the bottom of your deck. You get 5 cards, your opponent gets 4. And then we got 2 copies of Cynthia's Ambition. That is the one whereby you shuffle your hand into your deck and you draw 5 cards. But if you had a Pokemon KO the previous turn, you draw until you've got 8 cards instead. But bearing in mind, you're playing a single prize deck, so it is very often you're going to have a Pokemon KO'd. So either you do have a Pokemon KO'd and this becomes great and you've only given up 1 prize, or you don't have a Pokemon KO'd and you haven't had a Pokemon KO'd, so you don't really need to draw that many cards and you will be fine. And then we got 2 copies of Boss's Orders, because it gusts a Pokemon, you KO, you pick the right Pokemon, whatever. Yeah, that'll do. You can also try and drag something in the active your opponent can't get out and then start wrecking the bench with Regigigas. Do bear in mind that is always an option. In terms of Pokemon Search, you've got 4 copies of Quick Ball. You've got an entirely basic deck. Obviously, you're playing 4 Quick Ball. And then we've got 3 copies of Ultra Ball. It's not as good because you're discarding 2 cards from hand rather than 1. Although sometimes with the energy it can be a bonus. But it's the only other one we've really got here, so it will be fine. We got 4 copies of Scoop Up Net, because you're playing single prize Pokemon, any of which can be targeted with Scoop Up Net. But also, you're going to be mixing around your attackers depending on the situation. Being able to pivot attackers is crucial. Plus, of course, you can always pick up Regigigas, then put it back down. Oh, look, it's a new Pokemon. Now you can use the ability twice in 1 turn. Or you can get Regidrago into the active, use the ability, and then get it out again. Scoop Up Net is huge. You need 4 copies. Speaking of which, we got 4 copies of Ordinary Rod. And forgive the pun, this is not ordinary. Decks don't play 4 copies of Ordinary Rod. This one does. And the reason's very simple. You're not playing any basic energy, it's just getting 2 Pokemon back. But the fact of the matter is, you're playing 2 copies of each Regi. You will need to recover them constantly, and being able to do that whenever you can with Ordinary Rod is good. Bearing in mind, there's not a huge amount of draw in this deck. You've got draw supporters, you've got Regidrago, and you've got a couple of Speed Lightning Energy. You do kind of need to be on top of this. We've then got 2 copies of Hisuian Heavy Ball, which I probably should have mentioned earlier, but I didn't. Sorry about that. And this is a new card, and what it lets you do is look at your face down prize cards, reveal a basic Pokemon, and swap it with Hisuian Heavy Ball. You do have to shuffle your prize cards though, which is really annoying. Otherwise, you would just be able to know where they were, and that would be so much better. We then actually have 2 copies of Energy Lotto. That was the card where Pokemon said, hey, we're going to reveal a new, or, a returning item card. Everyone got really excited. Then it turned out to be Energy Lotto. But in this deck, it's brilliant. Look at the top 7 cards of your deck. Find an energy. Lets you find basic or special. Here you need to find your special. This will work beautifully. 2 copies of Choice Bout to hit extra damage. Obviously, that's pretty important. And then a single solitary lonely copy of Pokegear 3.0. Look at the top 7 cards of your deck. Find a supporter card, put it into your hand. It's nice for getting that supporter card you want. It's nice for giving yourself a little bit of extra consistency, especially in the early game when you just need to get set up. So, yeah, that'll do very nicely indeed. And it would be silly if I finished without talking about the stadiums. Your main stadium here is Path to the Peak. Turns off abilities of Rulebox Pokémon. You're only playing with the Regis, they don't have rule boxes, you'll be fine. But there are some really important Pokemon you need to be going after. Something like Duraludon VMAX, which says you can't touch it if you got special energy attached, which you will have. That seems a bad thing. There's going to be a whole bunch of other ones out there, one to stop you hitting basics or, just things like Arceus that have good abilities, but stuff like Duraludon, if you're not prepared, you're going to lose. We then do have one copy of Jubilee Village. Lets you shove your hand into your deck and draw 5 cards at the cost of ending your turn. No, it's not perfect, and it's one of those you'd rather not be using it. But in a pinch, if you've got nothing else going, yeah, this'll work. This'll do it. This deck is great. It's exactly my kind of deck. I've got a long history of Regis. Regigigas EX was a card that was very good to me. Regigigas is my tiny baby son's spirit Pokemon. Me and Regigigas go back a ways. I won tournaments with Regirock, the promo back in the day. Still my favourite expanded deck even to this day. Actually, I don't know if I won anything, but I went deep in both cities and regionals with it. Still one of my favourite decks I've ever played. I love me some Regis. This is perfect. I do wish it had stayed more of a secret for a bit longer, but the book is out now on Regigigas. This is a legit deck. This is not an aberration. This is legit. It's not the only Regigigas that made top 16, and it had good runs at IG Champions League a couple of weeks ago. This is a legit top-tier deck, and if you aren't ready, you are going to be losing to it. But I want to know what you think. So let me know in the comment section, would ya? Go nuts! Be nice! And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCG Radio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can do exactly that. But by far, the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.